All right. Commission meeting, August 16th of 2022. I am Commissioner Jasmine, along with my fellow commissioners, Commissioner Navarrete, Commissioner Jenny Rose, and Commissioner Smith. And was hoping we could start, well, hi to the public. Welcome, public that's here and those viewing. But we would like to start this meeting before we get the approval of the agenda. If we could have a moment of silence. We had a police officer that was killed in Priest Lake, and the police officer's name is Jeff McCullough. And let's just have a brief moment of silence for Jeff. All right. Thank you for that. Okay. So we'll move over to the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight, August 16th.
I will second.
All right. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
All right. It is passed unanimously. And we are going to move to June 14th minutes. If they look good, I'll ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we pass the minutes for June 14th, 2022.
I will second.
All right. And all those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that is passed. Okay, so we've entered public forum. Do we have any citizens signed up to speak?
We do, sir. We have two. The first is Anwar Peace.
Okay.
Anwar, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Anwar Peace, a 22-year police accountability expert. I'm here tonight to support the reappointment of the police ombudsman for another 3 years. During his tenure as ombudsman, Bart Lowe has shown to the community his ability to be even-handed in dealing with both complainants and officers. In fact, I've seen Bart's even-handedness firsthand due to me having filed complaints with his office in the past, which led to two mediation meetings with officers. These mediation meetings were set up to be even-handed, which allowed for both me and those officers to respectfully express to each other the issues surrounding our previous interaction. And in full disclosure, it was after that first mediation meeting that I became friends with Bart. And our friendship is based on the two of us working to enhance police accountability issues in our community together. It's because of our working relationship together that when a community member has reached out to me to tell me about their questionable police contact that they've had, I will counsel that community member of the benefits of filing a police complaint with Bart, which has happened many times now. Plus, quite often I find myself, while in our community, singing the praises of the Ombudsman's office, as well as the praises of Bart himself, who is a former diplomat, a Marine Corps police chief as well. By the way, those are some impressive credentials that Bart has, and that he still uses those skills in his role today as an ombudsman, especially those diplomatic skills. To that last part, Bart's diplomatic skills were put to the test when he arranged a meeting between me, him, and the police chief shortly after I had been falsely arrested for jaywalking. As you can imagine, this lunch meeting with the chief and me was quite tense. But Bart was able to facilitate a meeting where all sides felt heard, and it was because of that then there were several fruitful takeaways from that lunch meeting. And Bart's diplomatic tactics of lunch meetings are legendary. With him reaching out to other activists, police, governmental leaders, so that he can break bread with them in order for him to get a deeper understanding of the issues. I could go on and on why I support the reappointment of the police ombudsman for another 3 years. So let me just leave you with this. Bart recently became a Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commissioner, which for far too long this commission didn't have representation from this side of the state. As a commissioner, Bart will be able to enhance public safety issues or public accountability issues, not only in our community, but statewide as well. So I wish to thank Bart for all of his hard work and his service to our community, and I look forward to his next 3 years. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert Esseltine. You have 5 minutes.
I have 5 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Good evening. Here we are 3 years later, and I went on the internet and I couldn't find any instance where Bart wasn't doing his job. In fact, the biggest thing that came up was something about a death in the ombudsman office, and it had to do with an unnamed fish. That was the top search result on my web search for the ombudsman and Spokane News, and that's what they came up with. Bart has, by all measures, done the job. It's not an easy job, I presume. I figure he must deal with all manners of conflict with police unions and whatnot. The police think they are infallible, and I don't blame them. They have a very hard job, uncertain to return home at the end of the night, as we had a moment of silence when we started. So I understand the police point of view there. But when I don't, that's where the ombudsman comes in. And with objectivity, ununionized, fairness, respect, transparency, Bart has his dashboards up on the web that lets everyone know what he's been up to, and the fact that there's no controversy in the ombudsman office speaks volumes to Bart's leadership. And he lays out the information within his dashboards as he is authorized to do. He doesn't undercut any police officers or anything in that information. And but there's days when a cop has a bad day, and when I have a bad day, I have to get by. When a cop has a bad day, sometimes people get hurt, and things happen. You can get harassed, and so we all do that, and we've all experienced a bad day. Several years ago, when I was homeless, an officer felt his duty was to issue me 2 sit-and-lay tickets in short order. I believe it was one day after the other. He came in a fury the second time, and he laughed at my homeless situation. And that's how I met Bart. I was thinking a cop doesn't need to be laughing at someone waiting for his housing to come through. And I'm still in that housing, I must say, so I'm happy about that. But that's how I met Bart. And he facilitated a meeting with the officer and some other people, and we hashed it out. But what it came down to, the officer said, was he had a bad day. And that's why Bart's here, to make sure when a cop does have a bad day, he can look at it objectively and honestly and make sure that it gets looked at. And I trust him to do that for another 3 years. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Oh, thank
I
you.
appreciate you giving me the time to speak. Thanks, Bart.
Thank you.
Is that all? Okay. Thank you all for taking the time to come down and visit us and share your thoughts. All right. Unfortunately, our guest speaker couldn't be here, but fortunately, our guest speaker did talk to Mr. Logue. So, Mr. Logue, do you want to give a recap of conversation with Council President Beggs?
Yes, sir. He came down this afternoon. We had had a phone call before when he had brought up the idea that City Council was pursuing creating an ordinance. I put an ordinance that he would have brought with him today inside of your folders, but it's on the website on the City Council advance packets for August 22nd, and the ordinance that we're talking about starts on page 114. The ordinance number is C36259, and it essentially says, the important part, I'll just read it. It's a public hearing on police contracts. And it's letter E on the first real page of text. It says, the City Council and the Office of Police Ombudsman Commission shall jointly host a public hearing and take public testimony on the effectiveness of the city's police accountability system, and should be held at least 30 days before the city begins collective bargaining agreements negotiations with the Spokane Police Guild or the Spokane Police Lieutenants and Captains Association or any successor labor organization. Bullet 2 says the City of Spokane will consider in good faith whether and how to carry forward the interests expressed at that public meeting or at the public meeting. Those suggested changes that are legally required to be bargained with the Guild or Lieutenants and Captains Association or their successor labor organizations will be considered by the city in good faith for inclusion in negotiations, but the views expressed in the public hearings will not dictate the city's position during bargaining. And what Council President had inquired was if the OPOC would be willing to host a public meeting prior to the upcoming negotiations on the Police Guild contract. He told me today that those negotiations had already been started at least a day or two ago. I'm not sure exactly when. We were hoping to have this meeting as early in September as possible as a special meeting, but because they've already opened, the OPOC could host that meeting at its normal October meeting or the next available meeting, subject to your choice. And ask, and we can work to get the community come in and express what they would like to see in an ongoing contract with the Police Guild. Kind of the format that we kind of talked about today would be the OPOC would host it. Some city council members would be a part of it, so it would be a joint meeting. You would open it, sir, followed by the council president. Then OPO staff would speak to what our desires for the police contract. OPOC members would then speak, then members of the public. So that everybody could kind of build on each other as they went down, and then they would close it. There's no requirement for any formal document to be generated or anything like that. The minutes of the meeting would suffice as public advice to the city council and the administration for what we would hope would be included in the next contract. So that was what Council President was going to come down here and say, and he wanted to heartily invite the public to please come out and please give your voice to this effort.
Thank you for that, Mr. Logue. Any quick thoughts, comments from commissioners?
I've got some things percolating in my mind about it. On the surface, it seems like a step in the right direction. But my concern is, does it just become a perfunctory kind of thing that we do, and there's no, the guild doesn't need to do anything about it, right? It could just be a wish list and go nowhere, or do we try to take the upper hand or the high road and say, maybe they will listen to all these entities and So I guess I have to approach it in a good faith approach as I'm processing my thoughts this is my first time seeing this. So anyway, that's what's going through my mind now. And I think what I need is more time to look at these details, maybe confer with another commissioner or two and just kind of look at all the pros and cons. But it does seem like an appropriate right step, especially that community aspect.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Anybody else? Yeah.
So they've already started bargaining, right?
I think they opened negotiations.
Well, they opened. Okay. So here's the thing. When you start collective bargaining and you give your, I'll just say wants at the beginning. And if we're holding a meeting in October, they can't go back and really change. It just seems really late to be doing that. I'm kind of piggybacking on what Commissioner Smith said is, are we just making this a feel-good thing that people can voice? Or I might be missing something with this. I'm not quite sure, but I just know you can't go back and add something to the bargaining table. And maybe, I don't know exactly how they're, bargaining, but maybe they've already put something in there and that they don't need to, they can't add anything else. Once you start bargaining and you give your, what you want and the police department gives what they want, you can't add anything new to that point. So that part I'm a little bit confused on.
And that's probably bad on my brief.
Oh,
I'm not privy to all of the details either. Apparently, the city has committed to taking whatever feedback they would be given and adding that to that. I don't even know what it's called, ma'am. I'm sorry. Like this is what we want list. We had meetings in the previous time where we were never asked our input on what we would want to be included on that desired list. And once that list was formulated, like you said, they didn't deviate from that list. So we could say all along that we wanted, say, a specific item in writing reports or something like that. If that wasn't included on that document, it didn't become part of that bargaining session. And this is from what I understand, and he just came down to say that it's not too late to have our thoughts as part of that. This is what the community wants in bargaining. They're going to make it, should it pass, it would become law on the 22nd, I believe. But they were talking about it before they opened bargaining.
so
And
that
this is where
would
I'm the
mean that the
messenger.
Spokane Police Department would allow them to do that. Otherwise they
I
could
don't
come
know.
back and say they're not bargaining in good faith. So if they add something, so I'm going to assume,
Yeah.
okay.
You want to come up? And what's?
This is the Spokane Police Guild president, Detective Dave Duncan.
I will remember.
Thank you for saving me.
Dave Duncan, President, Spokane Police Guild. I was not expecting to talk tonight. I'll answer a technical question that you had.
Okay.
So when negotiations open, you typically open with the topics that you're going to want to discuss.
Right.
And so pretty much we're going to discuss the entire contract. You may not get to all those topics for several weeks or months.
Okay.
So we have not spoken about this topic yet or done any work on that at all. So we would not be going back if the city were to bring something to us. I will say selfishly that I really would like my members to be in a current contract. You know how we were out of a contract for 4.5 years last time, and I really am. I would like it to be done in a timely fashion. And I know that Mr. Perkins, the city administrator, does too, and he's committed to that. So I'm back there nervous as we're talking about October meetings. September meetings, like, super. But community input is extremely important. I know that it was over 2 years ago when Council President Beggs had his 24 kind of points of police reform, and there were supposed to be meetings. And yes, as you know, Commissioner Rose, and I was disappointed that didn't happen. It seems like this is kind of an attempt to finally make that happen. Unfortunately, I want to get a contract done, but I see this as a good venue if you're willing to host it, and if it could be done in September. I don't see why that couldn't be provided to the city to bring into negotiations.
And usually, we're looking like at the end of December, right, to finalize the contract? Is that what we did last year?
That's always the intention, is to have the contract finalized before the current one expires.
Okay.
And so we just finished up a one-year extension, which kind of gets us through the end of the year here.
Right, okay.
But yeah, that is the ideal
Okay.
situation. Yeah.
Thank you.
And one clarifying question. I'm already looking to the next negotiation after that. The contract will be valid for 3 years?
That's part of negotiations.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so it could be a 1 year, it could
Okay,
be 10
okay.
years. So most likely in the 3 to 4 year range.
Okay.
That's normal.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Do we have any more questions for Mr. Duncan? Thank you, Mr. Duncan.
Yes.
Okay, any other thoughts, comments?
Well, then the September, meeting in September seems imperative, right? The sooner the better.
And we had talked initially, I had called Commissioner Jasmine, and we had talked that perhaps a special meeting early September before all the travel to NACOL and everybody started doing different things. Because our September meeting, I believe, our normal meeting date would be the 20th, which is still pretty late, and it's like 2 days after folks come back from NACOL. So maybe a special meeting earlier in the month might be better.
And we do have time. We do have time for the September meeting date, actually right after this. So if we could go to the OPO monthly report for June and July, and then we'll
Okay.
go right into the September meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay, Louie May is not here. We had a plan that she was going to brief this, as I enjoyed a couple of weeks of vacation for moving, and then I went down with COVID for a while. So I'll brief through some numbers. And as I went through our huddles for the last 2 months, really remarkable the amount of work that we still got done. It was a good couple of months of oversight. But to begin with, I wanted to remind the commissioners, I usually do this, that there was an officer-involved shooting involving SPD on August 3rd. And what transpired that at least has been publicly released is it involved a vehicle that had been involved in a robbery in Spokane Valley, and it ultimately crashed around the 600 block of East 3rd. There was an exchange of gunfire, so rounds were fired at officers at that time, and two officers returned fire at that point. Neither officer was shot, but one of them did receive some sort of shrapnel wound, but was able to be treated and released on scene, thankfully. Officers from the Spokane Police Department, Spokane County Sheriff's Office, SWAT, armor units from Kootenai County and Post Falls PD responded and ensured that the vehicle did not go mobile. And then they brought in negotiators, and over a 4+ hour period, they attempted to peacefully negotiate the end of that incident. Chemical munitions were attempted. They were not successful. And on at least one occasion, a shot was fired from within the vehicle. At the end of the event, the suspect exited the vehicle, still armed with a handgun, and two different SPD officers and a deputy with the Spokane County Sheriff's Office fired their weapons, and the suspect was declared deceased at the scene. The Washington State Patrol is the lead investigative agency for that incident. Any questions on that before I go forward? I was notified after the first one and after the second one. And Louis May was notified as well. I believe both of us fired off some emails to the commission. So I think we had pretty good communication in regards to that. A gap that we still have as a result of I-940 where the lead agency is no longer involved at all with the investigation is that we are not invited out to a scene. So we did not go out to the scene on either one. And we did attempt to push that forward a little bit. And we had one of the lieutenants in the detective's office who works with the SEER team investigators took that gap, at least to the SEER team. But right now, until there's legislative changes, there's not really a willingness from the outside investigators to have us come to the scene as their guests. So that's where that stands right now. But we did at least try in this last 2 months. So contacts for our office were 87 for June. At some point in June, we were down 2 office members. I was on vacation, and we had a member have COVID. So 87 contacts in June, 128 in July. We're at 820 for the year, which is right about where we were last year at this point in time. We had 8 community meetings in June, 3 in July. We generated 2 complaints in June, 3 in July, 15 for the year at that point. 4 referrals. Those referrals are those things that we don't feel rise to the level of a complaint, but we still believe should have some form of customer service from SPD, or it's not about SPD at all. It's a complaint on, I don't want to say a company name because it might get offended, on somebody else, like another agency that we don't provide oversight over. So we will just make sure that that information gets to the right place. Instead of just instead of just saying we don't do that to a customer, we're going to try to get their complaint to the right place and get that answer for them. Cases certified, we certified 4 cases in June, and I certified 6 in July. I did decline to certify a case in July. And it's not a case that I believe requires any further investigation. It was simply a case that by the time it came to me, it fell outside of the boundaries of the 180 days. I felt they did a pretty good job of documentation inside of the investigation. It just took too long to get to my desk. 180 days is the cutoff for the bargaining, and if it's after that, whether we think it's an inquiry or closed or nothing further, nothing else to look at, we're not going to certify that case. It did involve something that I asked to become a referral after. So the nuts and bolts of the case is that there was a person in an apartment building, a single young female living by herself in an apartment building that was had some sort of interaction with somebody trying to break into the building. And it doesn't have an access right to her apartment, but it goes into a building that there's a hallway where apartments are kind of like a hotel style, I guess. Called 911. We have the 911 tapes. Guy was pretty upset and had a lot of conversations with dispatchers and was essentially told officers are on their way. And then officers never came. And so the concern is, where's that breakdown in that information? At some point, the person was called back and asked if the people were still there banging on the door. And in one of the calls, you can hear the banging on the door. But when the answer was no, then it dropped in priority. So there's a priority system. a 1 means officers are coming right now, they're dropping everything they're doing, and it goes down to 4 where we'll get to it when we can. And sometimes that priority thing will bump things down. I won't say wrongly, but we had a young lady that had an expectation that police were coming to a pretty traumatic event that she was experiencing, and she did not get a police response. So I asked IA to, even though there was no further investigation to be done, we want to look at whatever happened there so that we can hope that doesn't ever happen again. I think that has to be the goal. We actually do things like that on a lot of our cases. If we're closing them out or they're inquiries, if there's something else to be done, we do try to, we have no authority, but we discuss it and try to ensure that there would be some further action taken in order to benefit the community or the officer that might have had a misstep in the case. Interviews were kind of the same. We had 5 interviews in the OPO in June, 4 in July. IA interviews, we had 3 in June. We didn't have any in July, but there was a lot of training going on. Special cases, we did not have review boards for use of force, canine collisions or pursuits in June, but we did in July, so there were none. We didn't review any of those in June, but we had 29 in July. Meetings or significant contacts with SPD, 26 in June and 43 in July. So there's still a lot of interaction going back. If you think there's 20 work days in a month, we're pushing pretty hard. We had some training going too. We had some annual Know Before security awareness training. We had a couple of NACL webinars, one on body camera footage and another on understanding what Brady and Giglio means. I had a chance to present at the WASPIC, Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs Conference in June. I was an actor at 2 of the evenings for final mock scenes for the Police Academy. And then I was invited to come and give a small welcome to the brand new Basic Law Enforcement Academy class that came on that following week. I spoke as well at a Leadership Spokane graduation. I had attended several meetings with the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission remotely. I did travel to Burien for a media event with Governor Inslee, and it's on the future of law enforcement training in Washington, where they're trying to open up more local academies instead of having everybody travel all the way over to Burien for their training. Everybody doesn't go. Yes, sir?
Did you get pictures?
There's one picture I saw that has like this part of my head in it.
Oh, that's Mr. Logue right there, yeah. Okay.
But I did not do one of these. Maybe if I was 10 years younger. But I did have a chance. I think I got to speak with the governor for about 3 or 4 minutes, one-on-one. So as folks were milling about, I did not miss my opportunity to promote what I wanted him to hear anyway.
Yeah.
It was a good experience. I saw Sergeant Dave Adams, who runs the Spokane Police Academy. He was out there, so we talked a little bit about there, and I had just had that interaction talking to his class and doing the mock scenes, so we had a little bit of building blocks for a relationship there, so I thought that was good. I appreciated the opportunity to go there. I thought it was interesting. And frankly, a lot of the police academy here in Spokane is superior, in my mind, to what they have there. So
There we go.
he's not here, so let that rumor go. We got everybody scheduled for NACOL. That's sometimes an unwieldy process. Please let me know if you have any issues or concerns about your NACOL travel. There was a lot of work done in our efforts to secure funding for that office wall. Meetings on again, off again, on again, off again. There was finally a meeting. I wasn't able to go. I was told it went very well. We're waiting for City Council to come back to get on another council person's schedule. So we'll continue trying to push that, and maybe we can get it across the finish line. We met with a new contact, Kiana McKenna. She's the Director of Policy and Civic Engagement with the Pacific Islander community. I thought that went well, and it kind of reinvigorated our need to get back to those portions of the community that we're not serving yet or not serving well. We talked a little bit about that with Commissioner Jasmine. I think we need to probably reinvigorate some of our language accessibility options. So any ideas that you might have on that, we are very, very interested. And then finally, we are definitely moving forward on the independent investigation. We're kind of just trying to get both of us in the office at a single time to start nailing down the interviews, but we have had the opportunity to talk with a couple of commissioners who have come into our office. We have a pretty good path forward, I believe. We have put together something I'm pretty satisfied with. So I won't go deeper than that. But if you are interested in the work that we're doing on that, happy to have an hour of your time or 2 hours of your time. Come on in and we will show you what we're thinking and how we're moving forward in regards to that. It does show the limitations of a 3-person office in regards to we want all these things, but at some point in time, things take time to accomplish. So we're working on that. We also work with the Attorney General's office on their model use of force policy. And then finally, it was just kind of alluded to, I received an email from the city administrator, Mr. Perkins, in regards to what we're by, I forget, they called it something different too. It wasn't a wish list, it was something different between the city and the police guild, where the city was going to offer this 1-year extension, essentially. And in that, there was a provision that included something that the police guild and our office had come to an agreement 8 or 9 months ago, it feels like. And that was that in the contract right now, it mandated that we write closing reports for mediations. Well, mediations are confidential, so it becomes very tough to write reports regarding that. So we're essentially just kind of building a shell and throwing something out there, and the guild had agreed that that wouldn't be something they would push back on if that was changed from shall to may. So that was part of this agreement, but the email came to me in such a way that I was concerned that by putting something in writing saying I agree to this thing, that I would be maybe foregoing my right to complain later about some of these other things, like a bigger voice in reports and that sort of thing. But I received assurances it was not for that. It was only until the end of this year. And that was when I first received really anything ever since I've been here from an administration official that said, and we're going to deal with these other things that you brought up. So I made sure in my response that I included at least the topic areas that I thought still would need to be looked at, but I did not want to stand in the way of that 1 year thing. So that occurred as well, and that had never happened before. So I think this inclusion, there might be something to it. So I want to remain hopeful on that. Subject to your questions, that will be my report.
Thank you, Mr. Logue. I mean, it was a little disappointing you didn't take pictures, but it's fine. I know I'm hung up on that. But any,
Back to the meeting with, I think I heard you say there'll be another, a meeting regarding the office revamp with a different city council person.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I did try to be a part of the first one, and it just didn't work out for various reasons. I would normally express this to Ms. Cody, but if possible, I'd like to be a part of the next person. I just have a pretty passionate about what that office should be and what it is not now. So I would like to give my support if possible. So.
thank you for that. Any other? You have anything? Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Logue, for that. And all right, we have it. September meeting date. So I'll open the floor for any commissioners or Mr. Ombudsman, if you have any comments. It sounds like we're in agreement that we need to do something early September.
Yeah.
Mr. Zamblin?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, with an ordinance, typically when it's passed, there's a 30-day window before it becomes effective. So if this is, and I didn't see any emergency clause language in the draft that the council president proceeded, so if it's passed on the 22nd, it wouldn't go into effect until,
The following 22nd. Mm-hmm.
and again, it can even be further, it depends when it gets signed.
That makes
by
sense.
The mayor. So I just wanted to let the commission be aware of that, so it could be pushed out.
Is there any way to bypass that before they vote on the 22nd? Could they put in?
They could put emergency language in.
Okay,
It's not that common, but it has been done.
okay.
If you were to give that a probability, though, based off of if you were to give that a probability based off of your best judgment, highly unlikely.
Typically, it's not done, so it could be 50-50. I have not talked to the council president about this and what his thoughts are. So.
Okay, appreciate that.
I think that right now we're kind of, because they already opened, we are kind of in a, you don't want to say gentleman's agreement, but it kind of feels like that. Because there's nothing holding the city council to taking anything that we say, or the city administration for taking anything that we say. But I would say that it would never hurt for the public to raise their voices in regards to what they might want.
I think I agree with what you're saying. My earlier comments were a little bit, suspicious or disappointed. But in light of having the public be able to voice and be a part of that, and in future negotiations, I think my hunch or my feeling is we just put our best foot forward, our best faith that this could be meaningful, and that the public's comments and interests really are being listened to and thought about. So that would just be an approach to good faith. So we could possibly meet in late September for a special meeting. Is that kind of?
Can I interrupt? Looking at the section 3 here, it does say that that the city council declares that an urgency and emergency exist such that this ordinance is needed for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health or safety, blah, 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 and that because of such need, the ordinance shall be effective immediately. So we do not need to worry about the 30 days. And I just verified it with Mr. Zamlin. So,
Look at you. There you go, Commissioner Rose.
Yeah.
But again, it is kind of unusual, and I don't know if there'll be pushback on
Right.
the other council members. Like I said,
Because
if Council President Beggs was here, he could probably provide a lot more.
well, I should have probably read on it. It says effective immediately under Section 19 of the city charter upon the affirmative vote of one more than a majority of the city council. So that might be the piece that, so I think personally, I think we should just schedule a meeting to host. And,
schedule it for early September?
well, I'm not sure. I'm looking at the calendar in September 5th is Labor Day. And then if we look at the 6th, I don't know when city council is having their meeting that week. Maybe they don't have it during holiday weeks.
A lot of times it is.
Yeah, okay. So September 6th could be an idea.
The 6th. Would that work for your schedule?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, can we do a motion?
Sure. I move that we hold our, a special meeting to host the forum for which, well, I don't want to make it really long,
Yeah,
but maybe just September 6th is the day for our next meeting of the OPOC,
Or special meeting.
special meeting that we're hosting.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second?
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, that passes unanimously. Okay, so just to reiterate, that's September 6th from 5:30 to 7, a special meeting.
Okay.
And then we would need to see if that works for the others, right?
Or that Christina could get this. a room.
We'll work on that, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
And it'll either be here or we'll have it at a remote location.
Okay.
Sometimes city council does meetings in community centers, and so I think there's
I love that
options
idea.
if we can't meet here.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, sounds good. If we any more comments on that topic? All right. We'll move on to our next topic, which is the ombudsman contract and vote. And I want to pass it off to my fellow commissioner, Commissioner Smith, to lead this.
Okay, Chair Jasmine, thank you for allowing me to proceed on this. I want to first of all start off by saying what a treat it was to have the community come in and speak on your behalf. I couldn't agree more as an individual commissioner with what they had to say. I'm reflecting way back when you first arrived here for an interview along with some other folks, and you were sitting right there, I think, if I remember correctly, or somewhere.
I think so. I
Yeah,
almost fell down those stairs on the
yeah,
way
you were
up.
not feeling well that day, if I remember correctly. Anyway, moving forward, that contract, that day, you were obviously hired, and you were given a 3-year contract?
That
Or-
was for an interim, sir.
Interim, that's right. Okay, thanks for that historical point. And then you got onto the 3-year contracts, and just to update everyone, you are now seeking, are you seeking, I think you are, on the 3-year contract?
I am, sir. I had a lot of words.
Okay.
But yes, sir.
You would like to speak to that? Is that what I hear you saying? Or-
Sure.
Okay. Let's hear you, what you have to
Well, I
say.
did some reminiscing with the 2018 annual report, and I just thought it was when you think about doing this work, it can be pretty challenging, and sometimes you don't know if you're making progress or not. But I wanted to read this list of obstacles that we were facing right then in 2018. We had just finished in 2017 working with the police chief and a use of force committee on rewriting their use of force policy. It was one of our first big initiatives that we undertook. And we got a lot of things put in there. They implemented the de-escalation policy. They put the time distance cover and those sorts of things. The sanctity of human life became part of their policy. And some of those things that we think should always be part of it became there. So we were kind of on a little bit of a high there. We were negotiating with City Council to try to get money for the use of force dashboard system. That hadn't started yet 3 years ago. But we had an admin specialist who was a part-time employee that did not have access to the reporting systems in which to do her work. If you remember that, IA Pro was an issue. Commissioners were having hampered access to body-worn camera footage to look at use of force incidents with the ombudsman. I had a significant disagreement with someone in internal affairs on how difficult it should be for a citizen or a community member to file a complaint against the police department. We were moved to only observer roles in review boards with no comments allowed. They removed the OPO and the OPOC from the police advisory board. We had a significant reduction in access to Chief Meidel. We were having delays in data submission for the dashboard system. We had resistance to staff attending DFRBs, deadly force review boards, if I was not available. And we had that ongoing complaint from the OPOC to Human Resources on Chief Meidel. And all of this obstacle stuff that was being put in. We were also asking for the ability to write closing reports. That's part of this letter. And we were pushing for the admin specialist to be a full-time employee. And we had not yet even begun the push for Louis May to become the deputy police ombudsman. With a heaviness that just kind of came down as I read those obstacles, and we're not there anymore. So if I think about progress over this last term, I think we've made a lot. We're not where we need to be. I want to be able to say whatever I would like to in a closing report. I think that's really, really important. We are conducting an independent investigation, and we'll follow the rules set up, and we'll see what works and what doesn't. But all that's going to move us forward. Whoever comes after me, and I hope it's a long time from now, I don't want them to face any of these things. When they come into the office, I want them to know what their authorities are, both on the limitation side and the high side of that. So the other side's the good stuff. That was kind of like the Debbie Downer stuff. We did attempt to do a review of the George Floyd protests. That did not come to pass in Spokane, but I do believe that it provides the basis for us to push for a more authoritative approach when it comes to, you know what, we want to look at that. And that's where I think our push for independent investigations could really benefit the police department as well as our community. If we see a big issue, we have to be able to go after it. And maybe there are things to be seen, and maybe there are not. But if you have an outside set of eyes looking at them, I think that's the most transparent way to look at it, as long as you can talk about what you see, where I think we're still going to have a few obstacles in the reporting on this investigation we're doing right now. We reestablished the policy of supervisors, the mandate of them generating use of force complaints if they felt force fell outside of policy. Remember, at one point in time that was in, and then all of a sudden it disappeared. That's back in policy. We decided to write a closing report on C-19-040. It was a strategic thing. We felt we had the authority to do it, but we also felt that we would face some lumps along the way. Because we had not written one during my tenure. And the previous ombudsman had written a closing report and I believe earned an unfair labor practice out of that. However, the incident we wrote the report on we felt was so significant and the recommendations were of such importance, we felt it was worth it moving forward. The nice part about that report is, even though there are some disagreements on whether or not it should have been published, is we've kind of used that same format on using an incident to look for meaningful recommendations towards training or policy change. In that report, we made 23 recommendations to the police department. The chief accepted or partially accepted 21 of those recommendations. Since that report's been done, we've written 11 closing reports. There are 16 recommendations inside of those. 14 of those have been accepted or partially accepted by the police department. Those are kind of remarkable numbers if you look at oversight around the country. We have improved relations with the department, the police guild, and as I've discussed earlier, the administration. The chief has been amenable to implementing most of our recommendations. Now with that, we do kind of hold them accountable in our annual reports. I'm going to go back at the end of this year and say, you said you were doing these things, where is it? You know, to just make sure that we're not just saying, of course, of course, of course, but never taking action. We're going to follow through to ensure that there's action there. And I think it's worth saying again, I do not like that the police guild reviews our reports. That being said, it has led to a far more understanding and better relationship between our office and the police guild. It has allowed them some insight into how we think, and it has allowed us insight into how they think. Do I think they should have the authority? No, I don't. But it has not been the big negative thing that I thought it was going to be. And they have never tried to change the substance of a report, which is, it's as high praise as I can give, Dave. I do think that we should try to take steps to try to get reinstated to the Police Advisory Committee. I do believe that was done in a disingenuous manner, in the heart of that, in the heat of the moment during that complaint. But we should be trying to provide advice in every capacity that there is to provide advice. It's up to the chief whether he takes it or not. Again, the city provided me an update to the potential agreement with the guild. I thought that was new. We were able to get the admin specialists to become a full-time employee. We have a deputy police ombudsman with exact authorities as the ombudsman. And in this last 2 months alone, she's had 3 or 4 weeks of doing everything. Now we have this phone backup system which helps from time to time, but Louis May does excellent work, and you should be very proud of her efforts while she's doing that. She embraces these things with a hunger and a thirst for this knowledge and experience. She's exactly who we want as the deputy. We've got our budget back to pre-pandemic levels. And then the last thing I would say in regards to oversight, if we can't change it in Spokane, maybe we can change it in the state or the nation, which is why over the last 3 years you've seen an effort from our office to be more involved. I've joined the NACOL Strategic Planning Committee. I'm on the NACOL Membership Development and Advocacy Committee. I was part of the NACOL Use of Force Working Group. I'm now a commissioner on the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission. We have regular contacts with the Washington State Attorney General's office. I was a panelist at WASPC. We received 2 Ombuds Day proclamations from the City Council. We met with the Attorney General's office to discuss use of force policies in the House bill. And just this last week, we had a meeting with multiple members of the Pierce County, I guess it'd be a Pierce County Council, because it's not a city council, who dug into our experiences here in Spokane as they are working towards establishing an oversight entity in Pierce County. And they wanted to learn the lessons from us. And that's what we want to be. We want to enable others to be able to do this hard work themselves. So I'm very pleased with what we've been able to accomplish over this last 3 years. And I'd like to do it for another 3 years if given a new contract. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. I'd like to make a motion that we offer Ombudsman Bart Logue a renewal of his 3-year contract.
I'll second.
All those in favor of renewing Mr. Logue's contract indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Welcome to your next 3 years.
Thank you.
And, just a little side note, a lot did happen in 3 years, and I'm really glad to get that kind of a retrospective of what did happen. And to some, it may seem incredibly slow, but then we go to NACOL and we find out what other entities or organizations are trying to do and have not gotten as far as we have. And I think we're very fortunate to have the two of you who are nuanced in so many ways and so many levels. You're thinking of every aspect, every little nook and cranny of this business, and you're on top of it. And I am also impressed by your goal setting, what you have in your mind of what has to get done. I am in complete concurrence with what you're after, and I appreciate your hard work.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. And I think we all echo Commissioner Smith's thoughts. So we're going to move over to the OPOC retreat update. Do we have much to update on there?
It'll probably be post-NACOL, from what I understand. We had a date, and then there was a family emergency that unfortunately got in the way of that. But then we also realized that the person coming didn't have a Spokane business license yet, which is a requirement of getting a contract across, so we're getting that stuff done. It will be this year.
A calendar year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But I was thinking too, with NACOL coming up, maybe it's best that we'll have a lot of information that we're digesting and thinking about, and perhaps some goals will come from what we hear and what we see, and maybe touch base with some folks there who might be willing to come our way. What was the last, Brian, was it Brian Core?
Brian Core.
Now, the Spokane business license, how does that affect our retreat?
It's just something that in order to pay someone to come as a contractor, they have to, it's a simple thing.
It's a simple requirement that is in all contracts, and there are certain exemptions if the individual meets them. So
Okay.
they could, but they would have to go through the tax and licensing department to see if they need a license or are exempt.
Okay, so Brian Core had no issues or problems.
We got him a license, sir.
Oh, so that was a pretty seamless
Yes, sir.
effort. Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other thoughts on? Okay. So we'll move over to commissioner terms expiring. And I believe we have one commissioner.
That would be me, and I have reapplied for the next commitment. It would be my last, and I am in communication with the mayor's office. I have an interview with Mayor Woodward next week, a phone interview. So it is moving through the proper channels.
Thank you for that. And I'm happy to hear this too. What about Commissioner Wilburn?
Christine and Cody spoke with Commissioner Wilburn, and we will be generating a letter of interest and intent to seek another term for Commissioner Wilburn, and we'll get that in short order.
All right, that sounds great.
Is Commissioner Wilburn a mayoral pick, or is there
Yes,
one
sir.
or two of those? So there's two. Okay, got it. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything else on commissioner terms expiring? I'm glad we're keeping our team. Okay, Unity in the Community happening this Saturday, and I know I'm signed up. You're signed up. All right.
I'm out of town.
You're out of town. Do you know the schedule? Are we good? Are we covered?
Well, we were more covered before I sent people home with their sickness. So I will get back with the commission on that. We're good for sure. I will make sure that I get everything out on Friday night to get it set up. I don't know that I'll be here first thing, so whoever has the first shift, I'll be in contact at some point this week to just make sure you know where it is and where to go. And then Louis May was going to take most of the afternoon, so I'll end up taking that. Just so that we're there for the whole day. The Unity Community is a great experience to be out. We get a lot of foot traffic, and it's. I don't think I sat there at all in any of my times at Unity Community. You're always talking with somebody, and I think that's the best part. It's kind of last year it was kind of in a compressed space, which just meant there were more people to talk to. All the time, so it was really worthwhile.
All right. And we don't have to worry about materials. We're just bringing ourselves.
Bringing ourselves, we'll bring what we have in our office for some handouts, but mostly we're not there seeking complaints on the police department. I mean, we're there. We have some annual reports and different things, but really it's just kind of talk about the work that we've been doing and what we're up to, but also see what we can gather from the community in regards to their opinions on what should be. It might be a chance we'll see if we can maybe create a flyer for our public meeting in September. That might be something we put there.
Oh yeah,
hand
that's
out.
a must. Yeah,
That's good point.
yeah.
And then also maybe bring your business cards. I think Ms. Cody got you some, the two of you,
Yeah, I need to.
business cards. Okay.
I have to check. I don't
Yeah.
remember. I might have.
Yeah,
Do you have them?
I don't have any.
Oh,
so we have to get to, with Christina on that.
You're right.
You don't have any either, sir?
Let me get back to you.
We'll get her done.
Yeah. That's a good call. Okay. Before we go to Commissioner Speak Out, I did have a question, and maybe that's for you, Mr. Zamblin, or Ombudsman Logue. So executive session today, I believe we need Louis May here for that, no?
that was last time we met, we did the executive session, didn't we, for Louis May, the last meeting?
No, we missed the meeting. So normally she would go back with you and you would provide her feedback on
Right.
her work performance. Today would be an executive session if you wanted to discuss any aspects of the PAR that's in your packet. She's signed it and agreed to it.
Oh, I thought we did this already.
And
Oh, that was Christine.
what would be beneficial would be the commissioners need to just review that PAR and agree that it's good. So if you want to talk about the specifics of her performance, that's best done in executive session.
That's correct.
Okay.
But you could just review it and pass it today.
Without going to?
Yes.
Okay. That's where we I already know. Okay. And could I potentially make it? I know we already approved the agenda. Could I ask that we flip 6 and 7? Or is that a.
You could take it out of order.
Yeah? And would that be a vote or it would be a motion? Okay. So I move that we do the executive. Well, we do this vote right now, or any comments? Well, actually, we wouldn't go in executive session. So I vote we just flip 6 and 7, but 7 would just be a vote to approve. Yeah? Okay. Is there a second?
A second?
Okay. We got a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, perfect. So, any thoughts on Louis May's performance appraisal review? Do we have a motion to approve? That's what we're doing, right? Approving this?
Correct. I'd just like to we're not going to get specific on this, but just say that I totally agree with what's in here on the review, so, which is outstanding. So, yes.
I would concur. I agree with everything that's written, and appreciate, Mr. Logue, what you mentioned about her position. It's invaluable.
Yeah, I would echo the same thoughts of my fellow commissioners.
Same.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
So, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the managerial performance appraisal review for Louis May Omana as written.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, that passes unanimously. All right, y'all. It's 6:43.
Oh, you're not ending, are you? We got to do the speak out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I got.
You're going to end
I
us.
got you. Don't worry. We're gonna, I'm still proud. Maybe our commissioner speak out might take 45 minutes. But yeah, let's move to Commissioner Speak Out. Any commissioners?
So one thing that didn't get on the agenda was the law enforcement night out. And I'll just speak for myself. We received a list of houses that were hosting the night out. In my neighborhood, there were 3 that I managed to get to, although the last one was very late in my neighborhood, because I basically wanted to just keep it in the area, which is the northwest area over by Shadle. And the first one I went to was actually my neighborhood. Apparently a couple of neighbors committed to be our leaders And so that was interesting. All of the night outs, all three of them, the first two had law enforcement officers. The last one had the fire department. But each of those entities had been to numerous houses that night. I'm like, how did you get to them all? I guess maybe I talked too much. I don't know. But, so my husband and I went to the first one. That was great. Met up with some neighbors that we knew and didn't know. And then I zoomed over to another one. And that one had a few people at it, but it was really, really interesting. Where we live is kind of a unique area, so it was fun to talk to them about the houses and the history of the neighborhood, which I personally enjoy, and got to know them. And then the last one, I was getting there just as the fire department was leaving, but I stayed for about a half an hour and talked with the gal that was leading that one. Very interesting. I learned a few things about my neighborhood that I did not know. I live by Drumheller Springs Park, which is a very sacred park, and it's just the whole history of that area is just so amazing. You know, you zip up and down Ash and Maple, and you never think about what actually is out there. And the neighbor, the last one, actually said that there was an Indian burial ground, so just right below her, and it was nothing could be built there. Nothing could go in, and that piece I did not know. So, but anyway, back to the actual law enforcement night out. It was just very interesting to talk to neighbors about what's been going on in the neighborhood, what could we do better, who could we call, what things have happened, what situations people have gone through, and basically just keep in touch. And they all did a really great job. So it was fun. It was really fun. It was busy but fun. So I don't know if anybody else had a chance to go, but I totally endorse it next year to just, go where you can. I know there was some during the day. I know there were a few canceled because of COVID and the heat. If you remember that day, oh my gosh, it was like 100 degrees, but yeah, it was fun. It was very fun.
Thank you, Commissioner Rose.
Mine will be short. I just my thoughts are going towards Commissioner Wilburn and look forward to his return.
Yeah, I echo those. Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Do you have anything, Commissioner? Never.
No,
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Ombudsman? I know it's Commissioner Speak Up, but I'll give you.
Thank you for the contract. But I would also encourage the commissioners to reach out to Louie May and provide your personal feedback to her in regards to her work as well. She deserves that.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe. Okay. All right, we got the Commissioner Speak Outs done. Let's see. Okay, yeah, let's get a motion to adjourn. Oh, we don't? We don't? Do we? Go ahead.
Did you want to, because we're having a special meeting on the 7th, do you still want
Right.
to have a meeting on the 20th as well? Or do you want to cancel the September meeting, sir?
I would like to do the 6th in place
I'm
of the
sorry.
20th.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that our special meeting will be on September 6th and cancel the September 20th meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay. That's a motion, a second. All those that approve, say aye.
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 Okay, that passes. So our next meeting will be September 5th? 6th, from 5:30 to 7 as a special meeting. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Mr. Zamblin. Thank you, everyone up here in the crowd. And you up there, thank you for making us look good. Appreciate it. We are adjourned.
Okay, thank you.
All right.